tyre has deflated or not, and that's a big safety feature now of these kind of cars. The team knows if the tyre has deflated. If the driver's complaining, I've got a puncture, they can check their telemetry. They can say, no, you haven't, you've just got to put up with it, because there's a lot of rubber pickup on your tyre. You're just going to have to try and drive through it instead. So no chance for a changeover.
That final stop for Dario Franchitti there under that caution, really of no major consequence. It just cost him a couple of places. He was very close to the tail end of the field in any case. So the third stop really no big deal. Of course his day is already effectively over in terms of winning a race, unless Carl can think of something fairly astronomical significance to get back towards the front of the field. But it's a great shame. But the good news again for Dario Franchitti, he's done a fantastic job.
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier in the programme, Jeremy, about this funny incident that happened to Maurizio Gugelmin when he lost his wheel after an accident coming out onto the Strand area of the track, as it's known. He wiped off the front wheel. There is Maurizio the car looking a lot more healthy than it was the other day. This is how it looked the other day. This is how it was earlier. And that was where the wheel ended up, right in the middle of the lake there, the River Detroit on the other side. So it was one of the police divers. He had to get kitted up. I had to say, it took him about 15 minutes to get all this lot on. We were sitting and watching this in awe, and then he swam his way across to go and find the wheel, which also took about another 5 minutes. Eventually he got there and rescued the wheel from the lake. The funny thing was that it was under red flag all that time that he was out there swimming to get the wheel, but as soon as he got there and put the thumbs up, we went green flag again, and everybody went out and practiced once more. Anyway, we're about to go green flag racing again here, I think.
Yeah, everybody, of course, there's a couple of big screens in front of the pit, so everybody was watching from the pit lane. A great merriment, as you say, in the pit lane. But there goes the pace car into the pits. And that's interesting, they're passing the pace car while it's still on the track.
So the restart on lap number 42. Hiro Matsushita is actually at the head of the queue, but he will soon be passed by race leader Greg Moore. There he is in the blue and white car, coming through to lead this race on lap number 42. Roberto Moreno lies in second position in terms of positions with De Ferran lies in second position. Matsushita, what happened to him there? He completely got it wrong. I don't know what he was doing, because the leader wasn't actually right behind him. Matsushita, and he's nearly causing another incident as he tries to rejoin the track. That was very strange there from Matsushita. I don't know whether he was just too busy looking in his mirrors, or perhaps it was a result of cold tyres, and as we were talking about, a bit of tyre pickup as well. But there are your top three now, clear from the back markers. Greg Moore leads, De Ferran in second place, Moreno in third position, Michael Andretti in fourth, then a bit of a gap back to Maurizio Gugelmin and Mark Blundell.
Certainly Greg Moore was very circumspect through turn one at the restart there, unlike Hiro, who was pushing on as hard as he could to try and get out of the way. But Greg Moore, certainly, we could see him pick up some of the marbles on his tyres during that caution while they were sweeping things up, and he's just being very, very cautious at the front of the field. That's his prerogative. He's in the lead, he's the one who can set the pace. Getting past is going to be difficult at the best of times. Still a lot of marbles around there, even just after one lap of green. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it's beginning to clear up a little bit online, but I think, as you say, they're all being a bit cautious with the tyres having cooled off a bit, and all those bits of rubber that sort of have been cleaned up a bit, but they've also been spread onto the line as well, so it all makes life a bit difficult as the battle for second continues. We're on board now with Roberto Moreno chasing after Gilles de Ferran. He's got his teammate Michael Andretti right behind him, remember, and the performance of this Swift chassis still continues to impress everybody in the championship. Remember, this year there might only be two Swift chassis out there, but Carl Haas has great plans for many more to be sold next year. Not too many more, he doesn't want to go mad. They're looking at selling about 20 cars for next season. So when you take into account spare cars and two-car teams, it's not actually that many teams he's looking to supply. But what a great debut season it has been for this chassis. There you've got the two of them running together, and Gilles de Ferran really coming under increasing pressure from Moreno now.
Yes, indeed, he is. Oh dear, there's another guy on the side. That's Michel Jourdain Jr. He was actually last of the people on the lead lap. He'd been passed by Dario Franchitti, buried that into the tyre wall. I think that's turn 7 there before the Strand straight away, and I'm sure we'll have yet another full course caution. I don't think they'll be able to get that car out of the way before, but there's the safety team. There is a position there. The safety team are right on the spot there, and so far no caution.
Well, let's see if we manage to get away without a caution. They've got a bit of time before the leaders get back to them, and of course the cars are fairly well bunched up at this point, only having coming out of a yellow recently. They are now approaching that part of the course. They go through a sequence of right, left, right corners, and then they'll be coming up towards that particular bend where the incident has happened. Let's just watch as they come up towards the right-hander. Yellow flag's being waved on the spot, but in fact, yeah, Jourdain's car's well out of the way, so it looks as though we've got away with it.
Meanwhile, into the pits comes Al Unser Jr. That is interesting. We talked about a little bit earlier on who can be bravest and come into the pits and make his last stop first. The Penske team obviously reckons that Al Unser Jr. can go to the finish. Now, if there is a full course caution here, then it could be looking extremely good for Al Unser Jr., particularly if the other cars are held up by the pace car. So that's going to be very interesting indeed. Al Unser Jr. will rejoin 19th and last on the lead lap, but we'll see how it pans out over the next few laps as to whether anybody else is brave enough to come into the pits.
This is one of the course workers actually got hurt just now, clearing up this car of Michel Jourdain. You can see they were getting it backwards, and he actually got run over by the front wheel. Reports are that the guy is actually okay, but that looks as though he might have a few bruises to show off tomorrow morning, but hopefully not too badly hurt in that incident, as they did a great job, I have to say. They got Jourdain's car out of the way. We didn't have to go to a full course yellow, and that's meant that the racing has been able to continue. What are you looking at?
Sorry about that. That was Dario Franchitti there. Heck of a move under braking to get past Christian Danner into turn one with the smoke pouring off the tyres. And there also is, I think that's Juan Fangio making the move past Christian Danner as well. So Danner pushed off a little bit into the marbles and loses a couple of positions.
So drama in front of the commentary box there into turn one as Dario Franchitti determined to make up some ground after the disasters of that refueling rig going wrong. He's in 16th position and now in fact in 15th place, having got past Christian Danner. Now let's just see what this is, a replay of that move of Dario Franchitti, and there he was just sneaking past Christian Danner. The tyres locked up, but he made it through very, very well indeed.
Great stuff. Great move by Dario Franchitti. He's already passed 4 or 5 cars. He's up into, I think, 15th position right now. And he's not hanging about. He's, so far as he's concerned, all is not lost by any means.
Yes, he's still charging hard, but look at that, he's got some damage to the end plate on his left front wing. Now that's just the end plate to the wing that sort of defines the airflow, if you like, at the end of the wing. It might not make too much difference. The problem is that actual piece of carbon fibre dragging around, and little bits of carbon fibre getting into that front tyre won't do it any good. It could be that he could pick up a puncture from that, and that's not going to cause the team too much joy to see that on their TV screens down in the pits at the moment. But there's no doubting Dario Franchitti's pace at the moment. He's going very quickly indeed, and we'll just have to see whether that little bit of damage does slow him down too seriously. In fact, it has actually ripped off, I think, the rear flap as well. So yes, that is going to make quite a difference. It's not just the end plate, it's actually part of the front wing flap. This is the battle between Parker Johnston and Bobby Rahal.
For 8th position now, right behind those two, Brian Herter and Raul Boesel, with Juan Fangio, I think it is, behind those two. One's going well in the Toyota car. He's running in 12th place race right now. Good effort by him. But Parker Johnston, boy, he seems to have a queue behind him just about every race, doesn't he?
He does rather. One of the drivers that we lost earlier on, who was running very, very competitively indeed, was the teammate to Raul Boesel, who we can see in that particular group, Scott Pruitt. Pruitt was running in 2nd place behind Gilles de Ferran in the early part of the race, and he had some sort of engine problem. Let's hear from him.
What exactly it was? Well, it was something terminal, something inside. We don't know exactly what, but unfortunately enough to take us out of the race. And it's real disappointing. I mean, it's really heartfelt because the car was running good. We felt the Firestones were going to be real good today, and Brahma, you know, we've had our ups and downs the last few weeks. We felt this was, you know, a good chance for us to make that breakthrough and get the ball rolling again, and unfortunately.
What about the track conditions, Scott? How are they?
They were pretty good. They changed a little bit. They're getting more and more rubber put down, and with that, the car was picking up some more understeer. I was just kind of pacing myself off Gilles, and I think he was just kind of watching what I was doing, just letting the laps go by. But overall, the track's in great shape.
Bob?
So Scott Pruitt out of the race, as we saw earlier on, from what could have been a very good finish here, but that's the way it goes for him as well. Parker Johnston still leading this little group in 8th place, Rahal in 9th, Herter in 10th place, Boesel 11th, and Fangio in 12th position.
3 of the championship contenders already out of this race, from Paul Tracy, Alex Zanardi and Scott Pruitt. So that gives Michael Andretti, Greg Moore, Jimmy Vasser the opportunity to make up some ground here in the championship positions.
Yes, Michael Andretti probably the best placed well, no, Greg Moore, of course, the best placed at the moment. He leads this race, but watch out for Michael Andretti in 4th position. Running very strongly so far, and at the moment 3.6 seconds behind Greg Moore.
There is Juan Fangio there. He's running Dan Gurney's All-American Racers team, the Castrol jockey sponsorship for the Reynard Toyota of Juan Fangio. Really doing a super job. He's not losing much ground at all to Raoul Boisel in front of him. There is Raoul Boisel, just a flash of the rear wing of the Brahma car. And a great effort by Juan Fangio. Steady improvement by Dan Gurney's team, or particularly I should say by the Toyota engineers. He does not have the latest engine in that car, the Phase 3.2 spec car. He just has a 3.0 in the car, but the handling of the car is magnificent, and Juan is taking full advantage.
Good to see. Of course, Toyota scored their first ever points here last year, so I wonder if they can get into the points once again. He's in the points at the moment in 12th place, and as the team were happily telling us, a good anniversary is 30 years since Dan Gurney won the Le Mans 24-hour race, so it really would be great for them to get back into the points here on this occasion in Detroit. Back with the leaders though, you're looking at first Greg Moore, then Gil de Ferran and Roberto Moreno. Those are our top three in this race, and we've completed 48 laps. There are 29 laps still to go here, and the question of whether they are going to make a second stop. We've seen Alonso Jr. make a second stop, so he should be in good shape for the rest of the race. It's a question of whether these other guys up front are going to have to make a second stop. The likelihood is that they will have to, and then timing those stops is going to be so critical. The race could well be lost or won in the pit lane. Moreno at the moment though running very well there in third place, up ahead of teammate Michael Andretti. Fastest section of the course here, and then hard on the brakes into the right-hander. There's the gap back to the two Pac West cars this weekend, running very, very closely together all the way through qualifying and the race itself.
Yeah, Mark Blundell, certainly he was really looking forward to getting back on the road courses. Much more his forte. That's Hiro Matsushita. Problems there for his Reynard Toyota. That is a 97 car, but clearly problems for Hiro. But it's good to see that Mark Blundell in particular going so well this afternoon, 6th right now.
Welcome back to Detroit. Drama here. The yellow flag has come out because Matsushita car was pulled off to the side of the track, and the leaders are all into the pits. It's a dramatic pit lane battle. Greg Moore gets out quickly. Michael Andretti is very quick out. He gets out ahead of Moreno. De Ferran loses out. He's back to 4th position of those group of cars. Jimmy Vasser is next out of the pits. Looking out of my commentary box window here, the cars all flooding down the pit lane, and everybody taking advantage to make their second and final stop under that yellow flag. But what a drama. Everybody just sort of launched themselves at the pit lane there, and it's De Ferran who's lost out most of all, I think, a little bit like he did in Long Beach. I was talking to Ron Meadows, the team manager, earlier. He said really this year his crew have done a great job on the pit stops. It was just that one occasion in Long Beach where it went wrong. They've done some practice, they've changed things around a bit, they've made some really good stops since then, but just then I have to say it didn't go their way, because Greg Moore, Michael Andretti and Moreno have all come out ahead of De Ferran.
Yes, that's pretty interesting indeed, and what is more interesting at least is neither of the Pac West cars came into the pits. So Gugelmin and Blundell, the Pac West car and a Motorola car, Reynard Mercedes both on Firestone tyres, will be at the head of the pack for the restart. Now, if they can somehow stretch that fuel, I think it's a pretty tall order, but they obviously reckon they can make it. They're hoping probably on another caution perhaps. We've got, what, 25 laps to go when they come past next time. Also not making a pit stop was Patrick Carpentier, who is just, there is the Moreno, De Ferran, the target car, and Patrick Carpentier did not come into the pits that time around. Will be right behind the two Pac West cars, I guess. And also Dario Franchitti, of course, so there goes the pace car with the one finger up there, signaling 1 lap to go before the restart. But Dario Franchitti, of course, who did take on that fuel a little bit later than the other guys, he's able to make up quite a bit of ground through not making a pit stop now.
Tell you what's interesting, Jeremy, this morning I went down to the pit lane before the morning warm-up. Few visitors from Formula One here this weekend, including Steve Hallam from the McLaren race team, and he was having a chat with Mark Blundell, just saying, you know, what are you going to do when you go out in the warm-up this morning? And Mark was saying one of the things they really wanted to do was work on the fuel mapping and really analyse how much fuel they were using, because it had gone wrong last weekend in Milwaukee. They actually made a little bit of an error in deciding when to come in and how much fuel they had, you know, or how much they needed for the rest of the race. So he said that was one of the things they were going to look at this morning in the warm-up. Now, it makes me wonder now, seeing the two Pac West cars up at the front, do they really think that they might be able to stretch it all the way to the checkered flag without making another stop? It's an interesting case, and I should think it'll be tight, but they were definitely working on that this morning and looking at how far they could run. So the two Pac West cars there at the head of the queue now. Mauricio Gugelmin, First up, Mark Blundell, lying in second place.